Hi Trinity Alumni community, my name is Lexi Phelps and today I'll be showing you how to make cinnamon crisp with fruit salsa. So this is a super simple recipe. It's packed with vitamins and minerals, but it's also super sweet, so your kids are gonna love it, so go ahead and get them into the kitchen with you. That's really what my job is all about. It's getting families and kids together in the kitchen, cooking wholesome recipes. So a little background on me, like I said, my name is Lexi, but I graduated from Trinity University in 2018 with a double major in urban studies and sociology. Fun fact, my cameraman is also a Trinity grad, 2018. After that, I started working at the San Antonio Botanical Garden. At the garden, I am the chef and wellness program specialist. So I run the chef program, which I'll get into a little bit here in a second, and I manage all of the wellness programs. So the San Antonio Botanical Garden is definitely probably the most beautiful place in the city. We have 38 acres of exhibits and plants, and we also have conservation, wellness, sustainability, education classes, and culinary classes at the garden, which a lot of people don't realize. I deal with the culinary classes more than any of the other ones through the chef program. So Chef, if you haven't heard of it, is a local nonprofit here in San Antonio. It stands for Culinary Health Education for Families. And their aim is to teach families and kids very basic cooking skills and simple nutrition in the hopes that they can take those two things and live happier and healthier lives. So Chef is in schools across San Antonio. They're at the YMCA, the Whitty, the Boys and Girls Club, and the Garden, just to name a few. So at the Garden, I use the chef curriculum to teach a variety of cooking classes for kids and for families. And if you're interested in doing that, you should definitely come back out once we gain some normalcy. And if you're really eager, we're gonna have some Zoom classes in May for kids and families. So you should definitely check those out at saveout.org. Before we get started, guys, I really wanna stress the importance, especially now when cooking, handling, or eating food, to wash your hands, okay? So everybody needs to wash their hands with soap and water very thoroughly to prevent the spread of germs, and then we'll get started. So my hands are already clean. So we're gonna talk about our ingredients first. Okay, so we have our fruits here. We have strawberries, which is packed with antioxidants, which are really good for our body. We have some oranges, vitamin C, which is really good for our immune system, and then kiwi and pineapple, which also have a lot of antioxidants and vitamin C. So antioxidants and vitamin C are both things that are gonna keep our body really, really strong. That's gonna prevent our body from getting sick. So these are all great fruits to be eating. And then we have cinnamon, which is one of my favorite spices. We have a little bit of sugar we're using today, 2 tablespoons. Sugar, like a lot of y'all know, is very good tasting, very sweet, but if you have too much of sugar, it can also be really bad for the inside of our bodies, okay? So we're only using 2 tablespoons today. And then I have a small bowl of water, and then we're also using whole wheat tortillas today. Okay, so whole wheat tortillas are gonna be better than the average flour tortilla because they're made with whole grains. So that's also really great. So the first thing we need to do before we get started is we need to turn on our oven. So we're gonna be using our oven today. Okay, so we're gonna preheat our oven to 400 degrees. We already have that going for the sake of time. And then we need to prep our baking sheet. All right, so you don't have to, but when I'm prepping my baking sheet, I always like to use foil just to make cleanup a little bit easier. And then you wanna spray the foil as well so that our cinnamon crisps don't stick to the baking sheet. If you have a spray oil, that's fine. I always like to use avocado oil just because it has a really high smoke point. And so that means even a really, really hot oven, guys, it's still gonna be safe and good for our bodies. Okay, so I'll put a little bit of that down, and then usually I just use my hands, but today I'm gonna use a paper towel just to rub that oil around. All right. So once we have that prepped, I'm just gonna go ahead and set this aside. And then we want to get started making our cinnamon and sugar mixture, okay? So like I said, guys, I already have the sugar in here, 2 tablespoons. And then we're gonna put a teaspoon of cinnamon in there. Find our teaspoon measuring spoon. Get that in there. And then we're just gonna stir that up. So that's all we're gonna be using today for all of the tortillas. The recipe calls for about 6 to 8 tortillas. So you're really only putting like a pinch of the mixture on each tortilla. You don't want to overdo it because that cinnamon is going to be a strong flavor and you're not going to need too much. Okay, so now we want to make sure we get our cinnamon crisps ready to go on the baking sheet to go in the oven. So I already did most of the tortillas. I already did about 5 of them just for a little TD magic for the sake of time. But we have our tortilla here. Before, we are gonna have to use our knife to cut this into 8 pieces, okay? So before we get started, I do wanna talk about knife safety very briefly, which is a really big thing we do at classes at the garden, but also through Chef. So first off, if you are a kid watching this, you definitely need to ask your parent before you're using the knife. And if you're using the knife and you ever feel uncomfortable, make sure to ask an adult to help you out. So a lot of people think that you should hold your knife on this black part here because this looks like the handle, right? So a lot of people like to hold their knife just like this. And that's okay. You definitely don't want to chop like that or use your knife like that because you don't have a lot of control over the knife, okay? So even though this looks nice, this isn't how you want to hold it, okay? So you actually want to choke the knife, okay? Which I know sounds a little bit scary, but that's the safest way to hold your knife. So you're actually going to take your thumb, place it on the blade of the knife, and then wrap your fingers around it, okay? Because this part of the knife isn't sharp. You see, so you're not gonna cut yourself by having your finger close to that. So you're gonna wrap your fingers all the way around. That way you have a nice tight grip on the knife. You see how much more control I have over my knife? This isn't gonna go anywhere. I now have control over this. It doesn't have control over me, which is what we always want when using a knife. The other thing I see a lot of parents do this actually, is a lot of people like to hold their knife like this, with their finger resting on top. Humans just naturally like to do that for some reason, and it's okay, but if you're young or if you have the time to change that habit, I suggest you would, just because this can put a lot of strain on the ligaments in your hand and your wrist, and it can actually cause you to develop carpal tunnel over time and with age. So really want to hold our knife like this. The other thing, guys, is I love cooking shows. Cooking shows are so entertaining, but the majority of people on cooking shows are professional chefs, okay? So they might do crazy things with their knives, and that's okay because they're trained to do that. I am not a chef. I'm assuming you at home are not chefs. So when you're using this knife, you wanna make sure it's on the cutting board the majority of the time. If it comes up a little bit, that's okay, but no one needs to be swinging their knife all around, okay? All right, so went over that, and now we want to wet our tortilla. So that's what the bowl of water is for. We're gonna dip a paper towel in our bowl of water and wet the tortilla. And that's just so we don't have to use excess oil, and it'll be easy for the cinnamon and sugar to stick on top. Take a pinch of my cinnamon sugar, sprinkle it on top. Like I said, it really doesn't take a lot, so that flavor is gonna come across. And then we're gonna cut our tortilla into 8 even pieces. What I didn't mention earlier, guys, is when you're cutting, you always wanna use something called a bear claw. Okay, so I even make the adults do this. I make them make a bear claw, okay? Because if we're holding, let's say our kiwi with a bear claw, then if we accidentally slip with our knife, then we might nick our knuckle, we'll put a Band-Aid on it and we'll be okay. But if we're holding our kiwi like this, without a bear claw, if we slip, we could accidentally really hurt ourselves, okay? So we always wanna use a bear claw when we're gripping anything to cut with. So, go ahead and cut this tortilla like so. 8 pieces. They don't have to be perfect pieces, guys. Just like that. Then we're gonna get these nice triangles on our baking sheet, and they're gonna go in the oven for about 7 minutes, okay? All right. While we're waiting on that to cook, we're gonna go ahead and make our fruit salsa. So for the sake of time, I've already made a lot of the fruit salsa. You can see right here, but I'm gonna show you how we're gonna cut all this up. Okay, so on the recipe, it says finely chopped. Okay, so we're gonna start with our strawberries using our bear claw. So finely chopped basically means just small pieces, small squares is what you're aiming for, and you want them all to pretty much be the same. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's what we're aiming for. So this would be a slice of a strawberry, okay? And then chopped would look something like this. There isn't a perfect way to chop things. You just want nice, small pieces that are relatively even, so it tastes nice on our chip and the salsa. Okay, just gonna go ahead and get that in there. Just like so. Then we're gonna add our crushed pineapple. This was already drained from the can. We'll add that into our mixture. Get a nice sweet flavor from the pineapple. And then we need to finely chop our kiwi as well. So a little trick with the kiwi, guys, this is how I like to cut it, is you just cut it right in half, and then you can take a spoon to get out the flesh, because you don't want the brown skin in there. Sometimes the skin of fruits and vegetables are okay to eat, but with the kiwi, it's gonna be really tough and the texture is gonna be weird because it's a little hairy. So we wanna scoop out the flesh of the kiwi, and a spoon is an easy way to do that. Now when we're cutting, we're just gonna be cutting the flesh of the kiwi. A little bit more in there. All right. Cut that into pieces, and then the last thing we need to cut is our orange. So if you look closely at this, you can already see there are a lot of colors in here, okay? So colors is a really big thing we teach with chef, but also what we teach at the garden. Because the more colors you have on your plate, the more variety of vitamins and minerals you're getting. So I always tell the kids at the garden, this doesn't mean Fruit Loops, okay? So Fruit Loops, yes, there are a lot of colors, but it needs to be natural foods that come from the earth, okay? So just like this. So I like to use the example of superpowers when I'm talking about colors. This is a really easy way to translate. So let's say green foods they give you the superpower to fly. And then red foods give you the superpower to be invisible, okay, right? So if you eat only green foods, then you can fly, which is really awesome. You're like a superhero who can fly. But if you eat green and red foods, you can fly and you can be invisible. That's the example I used, right? Okay, so then you have two superpowers, right? So you're more powerful, you're stronger. So if you're eating all of the different colors, then you get all of these great things for your body, because each color gives us something really important that our body needs, all right? So the moral of that, or the message of that, is the more colors you can have on your plate of fruits and vegetables, the better, the stronger you're gonna be. All right, guys, so this is all mixed up now. Voila, you can see all those colors in there. We're gonna take our fruit crisps. They're not ready in the oven yet, but like I said, TV magic. I already have some made for you guys. And then we're gonna try this out. That's really good, guys. Really good and really easy, and this will last in the fridge for 4 to 5 days. So if you guys wanna try this at home, excuse me. If you guys wanna try this at home, you can find the recipe at chefsa.org. And if you're interested in learning more about the chef program at the garden, or the different cooking classes or culinary camps that we offer, check out sabot.org. We hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.